Hello and welcome everybody to this global live event by Legal Creatives. My name is Tessa Manuelo. I am the founder and CEO of Legal Creatives, and I will be your host for today's live presentation by Julie Ostrow, who is live with us from Chicago. Thank you so much, Julie, for being here on the live with us.
Thank you, Tessa. I'm really happy to be here.
And so
Bonjour.
Julie is gonna be doing a live presentation about listening to learn, using improv skills to connect and communicate with clients. So let me introduce Julie for the benefit of all of the live viewers and also the replay viewers. So you know more about Julie's background and what she's going to be teaching today on this live event. So when asked, what do you speak about? Julie replies, my main message is improving communication. And I do that by using three main tools: humor, laughter, and improvisation. Julie is a humorous speaker and communication coach. She teaches organizations and corporate teams to use improv skills to improve creativity, communication, team building, problem solving, and productivity with the clients and within their organizations. Trained at the Second City in Chicago, she teaches the benefit of using humor, laughter, and improv in all aspects of our lives, including in the workplace. Having more than 20 years experience of corporate marketing communication, Julie is able to identify the trigger points of miscommunication and low morale in the corporate culture. By infusing her corporate experience with her humor, laughter, and improv tools, she is able to guide organizations to communication, connection, and creativity, resulting in a re-inspired team and increased productivity. Thank you so much for being here with us, Julie. If there is anything I missed, please feel free to add the blanks, fill in the blanks. Otherwise, I just leave you the entire flow for about 30 minutes of live presentation about listening to learn.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Tessa. I am honored to be on this call with you. And I love talking with you because you get it. You know, you and a bunch of other people that we know in the improv community, you get that creativity and collaboration go along together. They intertwine so well. And how do we improve ourselves? How do we improve our relationships with our team members? And most importantly, how do we increase the connection and understanding with our clients and potential clients? And what I'm going to be talking about today is how to use improv skills to listen, truly listen to your clients, because it's very possible to be stuck in our brains and have our own assumptions about what we want our outcome to be. So let's get started. I guess we're already getting started. I want to thank everyone again for being here, and we're going to have a great day. So as Tessa mentioned, I use humor, laughter, and improvisation to help people in communication. And you may have heard this before, and I know I've heard this many times throughout my life, that listening is one of the most important components of communication. And then on a side note, we were given 2 ears and 1 mouth. I guess there was a reason for that, right? 2 ears so we can listen better. So some people say that listening is a lost art. I believe that there is an art to listening. Listening is the key to understanding your clients and meeting their needs. And what do I mean by that? Have you ever sat in a meeting, for example, and you are the client, and the person who you're thinking about hiring or is trying to get your business is just talking at you? And they're saying, we can do this, we can do this, we can solve this problem, we can do this for you. And you might be sitting at the other side of that desk thinking, well, that's not a problem that I have, and I don't even know if that's anything that I need. So it's a common problem that people have, and I say people, I include myself in this because I am a people. It's very easy to fall into the habit of assuming what someone else needs, and most importantly, to keep in mind that we don't want to shove our agenda on somebody else. So there are listening, like I said, listening is the key to understanding your clients and meeting their needs. So what I like to do is use the rules of improvisation, yes and, give and take, and being in the moment. And what is important to keep in mind is, yes, you have an agenda when you meet with your potential client or existing client. You have an agenda, you have a plan. That's great. But what's important is to keep in mind, keep space open for magic to happen between you and the client. Now, when you're listening to your client, listening and really identifying what their needs are, that's where you're going to connect with your client. And they don't need to know all of your background. They don't need to know how you solved everybody else's problems. They want to know how you can solve their problem. How can you solve their problem? It's closing your mouth for a bit and hearing them. And the yes and, which I have on this orange circular here at the top, yes and, is one of the main rules and foundation of improvisation. Well, how does that apply to conversations? Think of yes and as reflective listening. Reflective listening is an example is, what I hear you saying is you are seeking a lawyer who could help you with X problem. So, and yes, and if you're in an improv scene, for example, someone offers that they are your mom. Okay, I'm in your mom in this scene, and then immediately by accepting that, you act like the son or the daughter. That's accepting what's happening right there, and that's accepting and trust. How does that equate to a conversation? It's listening and accepting what is happening. Improv skills teach us to be in the present moment. And how many of you have maybe gotten somewhere and you realize, I don't know how I got here? It could be that you've driven to work, you do that every day, and you're on autopilot. But when we practice improv and accepting what is around us, it allows us to be in the present moment. Yes, it's a very Zen philosophy. And it is in the present moment when we're talking with our clients and potential clients that we really hear them, really hear and feel their pain. And when you hear and feel their pain that they're experiencing, then you can be there with them to collaborate with them to help come up with a solution just for them. Now think of the opposite. The opposite is you going in there with a strict agenda of what's going to happen without even knowing what their needs are. So being in the present moment and collaborating with your clients go hand in hand. Improv also teaches us to improve communication and connection. So if I am in an improv scene, for example, and one of my teammates is obviously not listening to me, I throw out an idea. I'm the mom in the scene. And then all of a sudden, that other person says that they're the mom. That can create some friction, but it can also be an indication that that person wasn't paying attention. Now think about this. If in any area of your life, whether it's in a volunteer setting, in your family, in your home, or in your business, workplace, wherever it is, when you put yourself out there, make yourself vulnerable, share some ideas, trying to communicate your thoughts and ideas, and somebody is not listening to you. The people who you thought were supposed to listen to you, say your teammates, your family members, aren't listening to you, and it happens time and time again, you will shut down. You will shut down, you will not share your ideas, and you will not share what your pain points are. Transfer that back to the mind of the client. So if you are the person who is talking at your client, and they're sharing some really painful moments, sharing some vulnerability with you, and you brush over it as if it is insignificant, they will feel insignificant. They will shut down, and then they will not communicate with you. Then ultimately, that person will not be your client. So that's kind of a timeline there of when you listen to your client, they will stay with you. If you listen to the people in your world, they will stay with you and they will collaborate with you. And what collaboration does, it allows us to create magic in the moments. So I touched a little bit on that philosophy of yes and I mentioned it's reflective listening, adding on to other people's ideas. And I love working with you, Tessa, because as I mentioned at the beginning, you get the idea of the collaboration. And as entrepreneurs, we have it in it's easy to isolate ourselves, but when we talk to one other person, we're able to add on ideas with other people. And that's why it's good to keep that in mind with your clients too. Add on to their ideas. Don't dictate, communicate, and collaborate. So keep that in mind. Don't dictate to your clients, collaborate and communicate.
Thanks, Julie, for mentioning
Sure.
this. I just want to make sure as well that if you want to show the slides, make sure to share the screen, or otherwise it's more than perfect this way as well. Just so you know.
Oh, so what are they seeing? I
We are
guess I did
seeing
not.
you now, which is great. But just so you know, if you want to share your slides, you can share the screen.
Oh, thank you for letting me know that because I thought I was. Yay. Okay. I
Take your time.
appreciate it.
Any questions, just ask me.
Okay. And if anybody is out there and has questions while I'm sharing the screen, that's fine. Thank you for letting me know that because there I was
Oh, you're
flipping through my
welcome.
slides.
You're welcome.
Okay. So what I'm going to do, just quickly recap those slides so you can see. And then
Fantastic.
for those of you listening out there, then you can see these slides again. Okay. So there you see me. The first slide, I was talking about listening being a lost art. Let's go ahead and make sure that it is. Keep in mind that there is an art to listening, using improv skills, understanding your clients and their needs. And here we have what I was referring to, the circle on the screen, and I apologize you didn't see that, but now here's that circle, those circles on the screen that I was referring to earlier. So we can refer to this, Tessa, as a recap of what I just talked about. So, and how about this for improvising, right, Tessa?
That's
So
wonderful. Loving it. Thank you.
okay, so one circle there, you can even print this slide out and put this on your desk, and as a reminder, the three rules of improvisation are yes and I have here it says acceptance and trust, but this is what I referred to earlier as the reflective listening mentality, and give and take and building on to what your client is offering, because who knows, you might even learn something from your client, right? They don't want to be dictated to, they want to communicate with you, and being in the moment, and that's where we create magic. And by magic, I don't mean, oh look, this rabbit is I'm going to make this rabbit disappear, but magic as in something that's being created that was never created before. And I believe that these three rules of improvisation lead to communication, creativity, and connection. And the improv skills teach us to be in the present moment, practice collaboration, improve communication, and connection. And here's a recap of the yes and screen, reflective listening, adding on to other people's ideas, accepting, and trust. And so here we are. There are additional benefits of improvisation. Healthy humor and playfulness create connection. And why am I bringing up healthy humor and playfulness? The art of improv is playfulness. It is improv is play, and there have been more studies. There's the International Society of Humor Studies. There's AATH, the Association for Applied and Therapeutic Humor, and Applied Improv Network, AIN. these three organizations, they're not the only ones in the world, but these three organizations that I'm aware of study what happens in the brain when we play, what happens when we are engaged in playfulness. What happens is it opens our mind to new possibilities. And think about it when you were a kid, when you played, you used your imagination, and then you think, wait a minute, how did I even think of that? This is fantastic. Now, I remember when I was a kid, I would play, I would use my imagination with my friends, and we never criticized each other. It wasn't, oh no, you're going to do this, and then I'm going to do that. It just seemed like it was imagination unfolding. I grew up in Michigan, lived on the river, and we had a dock, a really good sized dock. And there was a windy day in the spring. And I remember my friend and I all of a sudden decided we were Tom Sawyer and Huck Finn. So there we were on the dock pretending that we were on this raft, but it wasn't, it was the dock. And so I would love for the world to be able to have more play. And why am I bringing this up when we're talking about using listening to connect with clients? And here's why. When we add more playfulness and imagination to our everyday, and more importantly, in our workday, and when we are working with clients, we are more apt to be creative, come up with solutions that we didn't even think were possible. So what can even stimulate your brain is do something outside of the ordinary, and that can help stimulate the creative brain. Do something creative before you meet with clients, for example. So that's kind of an imagination, playful tangent, and a little tip for you to make sure that there's more playfulness, which leads to imagination and creativity in your day. And you're able to come up with new ideas. So give and take, that second rule of improvisation, building onto other people's ideas. Listen, create, and collaborate, as I mentioned. And being in the moment. I mentioned that, and that's where the creativity comes from, and removing judgment. Now, what I believe, there are three ways to listen effectively. Staying in that present moment, letting go of assumptions, and give and take. Now, what happens when we're in that present moment, as I mentioned earlier, we take away any assumptions that we have of an outcome, and we're creating solutions in the moment. And we let go of by letting go of assumptions, we're able to get the actual facts and information from our clients. Now, if a client were to come into your office, for example, and you've already made judgments about that person, and then you make decisions based on the assumptions that you have, then you're missing out on connecting with that person and ultimately meeting that person's clients. So to the best of your ability, start that conversation with a clean slate. Listen, and don't have assumptions about what the person needs. So that, Tessa and everybody out there in YouTube land, is an overview of is an overview of my philosophy of how we can use improv skills to listen and learn. Do we have any questions or thoughts out there, Tessa, or anything that you would like to add?
Thank you, Julie. Well, let's ask our live viewers for questions. You can ask all of your questions to Julie using the chat which is right below the Lego Creatives live stream on YouTube. I will write a small message here so you can see it pop up. And as far as I am concerned, I would love to maybe know from your experience as an improviser, how did you see your own communication improve in your relationship with your own client as an entrepreneur as well? How does improvisation has helped you in your career as an entrepreneur, dealing with clients, partners? Is there a difference between before and after? And what are the benefits that you saw for yourself in your own experience, professional or even personal?
Mm-hmm. That's a really good question. I studied at Second City back in the 90s, so a very long time ago. And so I had the basis and understanding of improv even before I started my business. But thinking about how I apply improv skills into my communication and my business, Tessa, is a really good question. One thing I thought of is being open to new information. Now, and here's what I mean. And creativity and coming up with solutions. Here's a perfect example. Being an entrepreneur, I figure things out myself. I also reach out for help when I need help. But when I know I want the end solution to be, for example, I want my website to be to link with, say, my booking platform, so people can book me and book one-on-one appointments or group coaching. So I know the solution. So I'm here, and I want to connect my website to my booking app. And I remember reaching out to people they didn't know, and that's fine. And I would get a little bit of information here and there. And I'd step away. I would do something different, away from the computer. And then sometimes an idea would come. But most importantly, what I'm trying to get to, and I feel like it's like I have the answer here, but I'm not verbalizing it the way I want to. That what improvisation allows me to do, Tessa, is being open to new ways of thinking, new ways of creating a solution. Because for the longest time, I did get stuck thinking I have to use my website app. I have to use the website app that came with it. I have to make that work. Then I did some research, and then I figured out, okay, you can embed this. I can embed this. Maybe I can embed that over on my website. And I was able to figure that out. So being open to not being married to the outcome and exactly how something is going to be is, I think, a perfect example of using improvisation. Does that answer part of that question?
Yeah, I think it's extremely interesting to know, because as lawyers or mediators, conflict resolution experts, we all are entrepreneurs as well, and therefore being open to new ways of thinking, which allows new opportunities to come to ourselves. I find extremely interesting your experience of changing somehow our thoughts by being more open to new solutions which are totally out of the expected. And I think improv is about being ready for the unexpected somehow, isn't it?
You summed that up beautifully. Yes, it's being prepared for the unexpected. And I almost wonder, sometimes depending on how deep I am in a project, I sometimes get tied to the unexpected. So that when I do that, I end up, I apologize. Sometimes I get tied to finding another solution and another solution. And there's also, and there's a point when I just have to decide on how I'm going to do something. I guess what I'm saying is I love figuring things out so much, and then sometimes I don't make a decision on that final decision on what technology to use. So maybe I'm an improv addict, Tessa, because I love creating new things. I love creating and figuring things out so much that sometimes projects aren't done because I love the creative process. Oh, that's a little aha moment.
Oh, for sure. The creative process is addictive, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
That's why we call the Lego creatives. So do you want to continue? Do you have more slides or more content to share? And then we'll take some more Q&A maybe right after. Do you want to continue? Do you prefer continuing a conversation, a live conversation?
I'm good with a live conversation. Um, what I can do is mention again about the importance of listening. If the one thing that people take away from this conversation is really listen. Listen to what your client needs. And it is okay if you don't have the answer or the solution right away. And I think that's where that's where the ego can come in. That's where it's easy to uh, I think what's common is to always have a solution, especially if we're the ones who are hired, which is makes sense. We're the expert. People are coming to us for a solution. But would you agree with me that it's okay if you don't have the answer right away, and be okay with that?
Yes, so what I understand is even if we are experts in a domain, being able to somehow suspend judgment or suspend our flow of ideas to really listen to what the client has to say. And by being very tuned to the client, then allowing ourselves to find a much better solution by not rushing. So how do we reconcile? We are always on the rush. How do we reconcile improvisation and, like time constraints? I mean, does it really take so much time, or actually do you get how do you train yourself at being a better listener using improv?
I
Do you
think
have any tips or advice about how we can become better in listening through improv? Do we have to take workshops, classes? How can we learn that?
you can definitely take classes. You can, but I would say if before you meet with a client, take an if you feel like you're really in your head, notice yourself. Are you are you worried about what just happened yesterday? Are you worried about what the outcome of the meeting is going to be? Do you feel yourself worried and stressed? If you're worried and stressed, that's when I would say take a step back and assess everything that is going on, and maybe even write down what you have going on. So you write it down, set it aside, put it in put it in a file, or set it aside before you meet with your client, and maybe say to yourself, okay, I will address that later. And then in 10 minutes, I'm meeting with my client, and I'm going to give her my 100% attention. And that can then lay the groundwork for listening more effectively. So put your worries and your concerns off to the side, and then maybe focus on what can I do to help this person. So have this. So instead of being in the ego and being concerned about your stuff, which you're going to put on that piece of paper, then ask yourself, how can I be, lack of a better term, how can I be of service? How can I help this person? I think just changing those words allows us to be in that present moment. How can I help? Just maybe cutting it down that short. How can I help? How can I help this person? That allows you to then it can switch your mind to listening and being open.
So
And when
according
you're
to
open, you can
you,
improvise.
so according to you, what is active listening? What is it, and how does it work?
Active listening is being keenly aware of what the person is saying. And I think active listening, you're listening not just to the person's words, but their their tone, their facial expressions, their body language. And even if they say, "Oh, I'm fine, everything is okay," you can tell from their facial expressions that they're not okay. So active listening is practicing that reflective listening and paying attention to the nonverbals. Listen to what is not being said.
So it's about listening to something that is not obvious. So by being, do you mean that by being extremely attentive and conscious in the present moment, hence you can develop a much better understanding of whether there is a connection with the client, where are the areas to dig in, or where are the pain points for your client or the needs, so you can be of a better service. You can help them better. Is that so?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So how did you how what would you recommend if there is one very easy tip of strategy for people to start implementing improv in their day-to-day work with the clients? What would be one thing that would be very easy and accessible to start implementing for our viewers who are legal creatives? So they are working in the legal field. They want to be more creative in their work. And so what would you recommend them to start doing in order to start seeing improvement in their relationship with the clients?
I would say that's a really good question. The number one thing to keep in mind, and here's a tip. I mean, what number one tip? When someone says something to you and they're sharing some facts or how they feel, repeat that back to them. Not in a repeat and it's almost like you're hitting play, but repeat back to them in a reflective manner. Because this is where I learned that more than 20 years ago. I was a volunteer grief counselor for a children's bereavement program in the city of Chicago. And what I learned was being using the same tone of voice, almost same mannerisms, and I would reflect what the child had said. And I worked with kids ages 3 through 18. And this application does fit here, no matter who we're talking to. So for an example, Johnny, who was 5, was building a sandcastle to the heavens, to his dad. And he said, I'm building a sandcastle so I can see my dad in heaven. Now, I know logically that's not possible. But for me to negate his imagination on that would be devastating and not necessary. So instead, what I said was, oh, you're building a sandcastle so you can see your dad in heaven. And what he knew was, there is this person sitting next to me, supporting me. She hears me. And then he continues to build his sandcastle. And this is relevant in any conversation that we have, because I'm going to explain to you what could have happened if I negated what he had said. If he says, I am going to build a sandcastle to heaven so I can see my dad. That's impossible. You can't do that. And there's no way you're going to see your dad. I mean, it sounds devastating just to say, but by being a reflective listener, repeating what he said, and in the same inflection and enthusiasm, he subconsciously heard and felt that he was supported. So transferring that over to when you work with clients. What would be an example? I have issues with my estate. I am so concerned about say family members taking my parents' jewelry. They didn't have a will, and I'm really concerned about this. Reply with reflective listening. So what I hear you saying is there are some family heirlooms that you're concerned about, and there wasn't a will. Your parents didn't have a will. So you see what I did? Taking what the person had said and repeating back to them shows that they're listening. So does that help you, Tessa? Reflective listening, for sure.
Yes, that's extremely interesting. Thank you for bringing that up. It's true that I have taken personally a few communication classes, but we tend to forget. It's like a muscle we need to train every day. So it's good to be reminded of the importance of reflective listening for people to feel supported in whatever they are going through right now, whether it's difficult or maybe even joyful as well. I would imagine it would work whether it's a negative or positive situation.
Exactly right.
And so now I want to know, because we are talking about communication. So communication, we are talking and listening with someone. How about collaboration? You have spoken about collaboration in your presentation and in your slides. So, according to you, what is collaboration? And because as legal creatives, we are also questioning the position of a legal professional towards a client. We have a lot of habits of being as legal professionals, having lots of knowledge, expertise. There is this habit of being somehow in a stronger position towards the client, and the client is asking for advice, seeking for advice. How does a lawyer can start collaborating in a much better way with its client? How can a legal professional, how can a legal creative implement collaboration in its relationship with its client? So what is collaboration? How does it
Collaboration,
work?
yeah, I believe collaboration is creating something together. And I almost feel like if I'm working on a project by myself, I'm not collaborating. I'm thinking of ideas on my own. And what collaboration allows us to do is share our different ideas. And I know that when I have, if I'm stuck on a project, for example, and I talk with someone, hey, have you ever done this? And they'll say, oh yeah, I've just used, I use Square for my booking appointments, or, oh, I use this website, or just one little tweak of information can help us come with the solution. But what collaboration is taking one person's idea and then another person's idea and possibly somebody else's idea and building on to each other. I think of it this way. Collaboration is brainstorming. And brainstorming is an old term that we used, it's from the dawn of time. But I think collaboration is more of a mainstream term now than brainstorming was. But what brainstorming and collaboration do is it sparks an idea. So someone has an idea and it might not be the solution, but say if I have an idea, it's not the end solution, but it will spark an idea in somebody else. And that right there, that idea might not be the solution yet. Then that could spark an idea in somebody else. And it's almost like a wheel on a bike. And those spokes are all of those ideas that everybody has. And separately, they don't come up with the solution. But when we all add our own spokes, it ignites this energy and it creates that wheel, which is what we all created together, and it creates momentum.
Wow, so it's a brainstorming that is done like on the moment somehow.
Yes, yes, it is. It is. And I love it. I love it. And it's worked with so many different people, and I'm stuck at an example right now, but I will think of one. Um, but I love creating with other people, and I love that aha that I have in my head, like, oh my gosh, that was great, I never even thought about that. Oh, and how fun was that, because we created that together. Whether it's we're creating trying to come up with a solution, or if it's in a humorous setting, if some people are just joking around and building on to each other ideas, it's fun. It's a fun way to come up with solutions.
So, and talking about fun, you have been talking a lot about humor, and you talked about healthy humor. What is the difference between healthy humor and non-healthy humor, and how do you recommend using humors for legal professionals? Would this be appropriate, and if so, how could it be appropriate and healthy?
I believe healthy humor is, let's see, I'm going to do that. You can hear me okay. Healthy humor is making fun of, not making fun of anybody else. Now, I believe I can make fun of myself, but I don't think it's fair for anybody to poke fun at me. It depends on maybe in some cases, but for the most part, healthy humor is making fun of a situation, making fun of what is happening, maybe making fun of things. But unhealthy humor is sarcasm, criticism. And if you poke fun at somebody else's expense, but you're happy and you're laughing, that's not healthy because that breaks the connection between you two. That creates a division between you. And I had read years ago that the meaning of sarcasm is to shred. And I used to use sarcasm a lot a long time ago, but instead what I do is just poke fun at and look at maybe the flip side of a situation. So unhealthy humor is poking fun at somebody else. Healthy humor is finding the funny in the moment in certain situations. Um, but I can poke fun at myself. I
Finding the funny in the moment.
Yes, finding the
So,
funny in the moment.
so it's always about being in a moment, right? Is it
Oh,
seems like it is.
yes. Yes, yes. And you might even, sorry, my computer's moving there. Finding the funny in the moment, it's it's more fun. And then when you try to recap what you thought was funny, and you try to explain it to somebody else, it it
It's no longer
doesn't
funny.
translate. And when someone says you had to be there, and I know that's a trite expression, but I think we should add you had to be there in the moment because it was in the moment. It was this fun, creative, one in a lifetime moment.
Yeah, it's about being here and otherwise we miss the jokes as well. So we might as well be fully in the moment to also enjoy the funny parts of the conversations. Is there how can we get to know more about what you do and the work you do? So our viewers and replay viewers can know more about where to find you if they want to know more about about improv, collaboration, listening skills. I know you are in Chicago, but are you also digital?
I am. Can you see my screen, Tessa?
It's gonna come in a few seconds, I'm sure.
Okay, want to make sure I'm doing it right this time. I
Yeah,
appreciate you
yeah.
asking that. Yes, I'm available online. I have I do online courses, online webinars for using improv in your public speaking. I also offer one-on-one public speaking coaching. I have in-person and online courses. They're just being mapped out for the 2018 calendar, which is exciting. And I
Yay!
personally love, yay! And
We don't
I
see the
personally,
screen yet.
yeah, and what I personally
Yeah.
love is
Yes.
interacting with other people because then I can see that I am making an impact on other people's lives. And I love this interaction between you and me, and I'm able to answer questions. And I feel like if I just say, here's the information, here's the PowerPoint, and I'm talking at you, then I'm dictating instead of collaborating. I love figuring out, okay, what are some of your pain points when it comes to communication? What are your pain points when speaking with a client? Like, oh, you know what? I had a meeting with my client and then I feel like I just missed the mark. So I love being able to coach people on using listening skills and playfulness and improv to help their business. And so it's all very exciting stuff. And so they can go to my website, and I have a communication coaching button, and I have my services listed there.
Wonderful. So are you sharing your screen? Because we don't see it yet.
Oh, you don't? Okay.
No. Maybe you can stop and start again? What do you think about that?
Oh, you know what? There was one more field that I needed to press.
Oh, like confirmation.
Confirmation, and I did not do that. I did in 8th grade, though, because I was raised Catholic. Confirmation. Anywho, so here,
Yay.
so do you see my slide?
Wonderful.
Okay.
Yes, now we can see it very well.
So on my website, you can go to communication coaching, and that's where I have the list of services. And then I'll be putting up a calendar, which will list my online courses, from a webinar also to a 6-module course on public speaking, and also have some listening components on there too.
Wow, that's fantastic. Thank you so much for taking some valuable time this morning to speak with us on the live event by Lego Creatives. Before we end this live conversation and presentation, is there anything, Julie, that you want, any message that you want to say to our audience, whether live or replay viewers? Anything about improv, listening?
A few different things come to my mind as key takeaways, that hopefully people get from this. And I would say, number one, get out of your head, and remove those assumptions that you may have about your clients or your prospective clients. Get out of your head. Get rid of those assumptions, because there are so many different experiences that we all have that we might apply to our interactions, and I'm stumbling on my words because I have 5 thoughts that want to come out at once. A do-over. What can happen is if we only live in our own filter and with our own information, we make assumptions. And then if we ride on those assumptions, we will make false recommendations to our clients. And that's why it's so important to listen. The most important thing about listening is clear your mind. Start with a blank slate. Whatever that, however you can get there. If it means taking a walk before you're meeting with your client, like I said earlier, write down everything that's in your head that you think would block you from connecting with your client. So clear your mind. Be open to new information. That's the key takeaway of improv.
Wow, fantastic. Thank you so much, Julie. Is there anything else you wanted to, as a key takeaway? Because you had 5 different ideas. And love viewers, if you have any questions, comments, now is the time to put them in the chat box in the YouTube live.
And I want to thank you again, Tessa, for having me speak in Legal Creatives. And anyone out there in the Legal Creatives community, anyone who found us any other way, you are more than welcome to reach out to me via email, Twitter, LinkedIn. I'm also on Facebook, but it's not listed here. I apologize. But you can find me on Facebook. So Facebook and email would be the best way. If you have any other questions that come up after you watch this video, feel free to reach out and see if we can collaborate and come up with an answer.
Well, that's wonderful. And actually, there is also another way to connect is the Lego Creatives community. You are part of the community as well. It's an open network for everyone to share ideas, innovative products, innovative research topics, innovative initiatives related to the legal field. And Julie is actually a member. And you can also find her in this community. Maybe I could share my screen. Let's see if I could do that. So you can take a look. Hello. Oh. So if you want to join the community, and I strongly encourage you to do so, because Julie is already inside the community ready to answer your questions, you go on legalcreatives.com/p/connect. And here we are onboarding all legal professionals into the digital world. We have quite a few members already who joined this community from different countries in North America and in Europe as well. So you just click here, online community, join for free. You enter your email address in this little box here. And you click join now. You will receive almost instantly an email. If it's not instant, it might take a few minutes. And then you can join the community and start interacting with Julie and other members. I am not sure. Yeah, I don't know if Julie is still in the room right now. Julie, are you here? I cannot see Julie, but here I am. You can see me.
Let's see. Okay, so. Okay, I've had to. Can you hear me? No. Okay. Can you hear me as well? You can. Okay. Can you say something? Because I don't think I can hear you. Oh, I don't hear you. I don't hear you.
Thank you, everyone.
Oh, okay. I can hear you.
Thank you, everyone, for being here on this live streaming on the YouTube channel, Legal Creatives. Thank you for everyone who will be watching the replay as well. Of course, thanks to you, Julie, for sharing all of your knowledge, expertise about communication, improv, collaboration, and humor. I have personally learned a lot from your session today, and that's for sure. I will have also to watch the replay again to make sure I integrate all of you have been sharing with us today. So thank you so much, Julie, for being here. It was a real pleasure to have you. Julie and I have known each other for now a few years at the Improv conference, and it's always a pleasure to work with you and to collaborate with humor.
Likewise, Tessa. Likewise. Thank you so much.
And for everyone who is on the live, join the community. It's absolutely free, and you will be able to interact with other legal creatives everywhere in the world, with also Julie and also all of the previous speakers who are also in the community. So you can share about your experience as a legal creative, your expectations, what you want to learn, how can you get supported by the other legal creatives in the community. It's really for you. You bring what you want, and whatever you bring is gonna be nourishing the community. So be active, join us, legalcreatives.com/p/connect, enter your email, and then you're in. If there's no further questions, we'll just say thank you again. And the next live event is actually happening tomorrow with Sabine, who also has been rescheduled because we had some time difference issues last time. So she will be on the live tomorrow. So make sure to check the program on legalcreatives.com/p/attend to register.
And then I think what I'll do, whatever links that you want to share publicly, Tessa, I'll put on my Facebook page, I'll put on LinkedIn and Twitter. So I'll put it on social media. So if all of you follow me, see me, try to find me, whatever links Tessa provides for me, I will put out there. And
yep. There will be a replay, and I will send you the link. It will be ready in a few hours. It's actually pretty fast. So we'll send
the connecting, even the link for the connecting, I can put out there too, if you want to put that out there.
Wonderful. Thank you, Julie. Have a great afternoon. Thank you so much for being here live from Chicago, and we will see you very soon, I'm sure.
Okay, merci bien and à
Merci
bientôt.
bien.